So.
Thanks, Jim. So we're going to be doing this one a little bit differently. I didn't think anybody wanted to sit through 100 slides of PowerPoint. So I'm just going to go point by point. I don't expect anybody to use the majority of this. It's more about just letting you know that it's there and you can use it if you find a use for yourself. So first off, the main difference between Chrome and Internet Explorer is Chrome just works a little bit quicker. Internet Explorer isn't as bad as it used to be. We'll find that it will only work, or you'll find that Internet Explorer just works on some of the older government websites a little bit better than Chrome will. But otherwise, Chrome's going to work for just about anything that you run into. So anytime you want to search for anything, you just type it in the title bar there. And what most people will do is they'll just click the link and it'll take them to the page. But if you happen to have a search that you want to take a look at multiple of the options, you can do... If you hit the control key, you click on the link, it'll open up another tab in the background so you don't keep going back. Oh. And everything I'm going to be talking about is going to be on a little cheat sheet.
Did you say just control and what? The L?
Left click.
Control.
On the mouse.
Oh, that means left?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing you can do is if you do not know the definition of a word on any web page, you can select it. You can then right click it and then you can search Google for the definition of the word. Or if you just happen to do calculators, you'll pull up a calculator. If you have a website that you're going to be going to every single day, you can right click on a tab and you can pin it, which basically just means that this is going to be permanently there. Anytime that you open up Chrome, it'll still be there. I have mine set up a little differently than everybody else, but
is there not going to be a favorites thing? Like,
well, yeah, you can use favorites as well, but just like I said, nobody's going to use everything. But it's just about knowing it's available if you can find a use for it.
Okay.
Did you say something, Scott?
No, all right.
Okay. Bookmarks is probably, it's kind of a pain to explain right now. Google just changed the way that they do bookmarks completely, and people aren't in general happy about it, so they might be changing. I don't know if they're going to be going back to the old way of doing things, or they're just going to continue taking suggestions and just adding features to the new way. So I'm going to show you both. So this is the old bookmark manager. I created these two just to play around with for you guys. But it pretty much works the same way that it would in Windows. Like if you're navigating the shared folder. Same type of concept. Now, if you go to, say, add a website in the old way, you would click the start. It pulls up this window. Now it gives you the option to name it, whatever you'd like, and where you can move it to. The folders that you see here pretty much are going to be your most recently used. If you do not see the folder that you need, you can select choose another folder, and then from here you can create other ones or go into whichever. I use the bookmark bar, which I'm pretty sure just about on everybody's have enabled it when I set it up for you. You might see just a couple icons where it would just be the IPS website and maybe our YouTube channel on the training computer.
If we don't have it, we should ask you,
Yeah, I can take a look.
or we can figure it out ourselves, try it.
Well, if you want to add the bookmark bar and it's not there already, you can right-click on any of the gray areas
Okay.
and show bookmark bar.
Okay.
Or it'll be under bookmarks as well. And I'm going to show you the new one. This part you do not need to know because it's not going to be there for long. There we go. So this is the new way. Basically what they wanted to do was make it a little more easier for people to find their bookmarks. It works great if you do not have a lot of them. If you have way too many of them, like I do, it becomes confusing to find. The one feature I do like about it is they'll take a little picture from it. So it's, like if you did it with our web page, you would see the home page as the icon for it. It would be the same way, just looks a little bit different. You would click add folder, and then you would navigate to where you wanted to save it. And then once you find the folder you want to put it in, you just click it. So it's pretty much the same steps. Now if you need to move stuff around, or you want to take a look at all of your bookmarks, you can go into the bookmark manager, and this is what you'll see. So it kind of puts, you have an all items by default, which will show you all of your bookmarks. If you just have a lot of them, I've noticed that anytime I have to back them up for anybody, there's usually not that many folders. So it's kind of, this is what you're pretty much going to see. Old bookmarks that you have, they have not set it to load the images yet. It looks like it'll only do that on new bookmarks. If you have a good amount of them and it takes you too long to find anything this way, you can go to the settings here and you can change it to list. You lose out the little image of the website, but it kind of makes it easier to find things. You can also do searches, and it does not, it will not search for folder names, but it will search content based on the website. So if you do a search, we'll actually check the websites that you do have bookmarked and look for things.
Jason, I don't use bookmark. I use favorites. What's the difference
They're
basically?
exactly the same.
I was gonna say, I
Yep,
thought
it's just
so.
another word for it.
And you can bring your Internet Explorer bookmarks or favorites over
Yeah.
to
Every
Chrome.
time I
Sorry for
set up,
jumping ahead.
anytime I set up any of your computers, most of you do have Internet Explorer bookmarks, and I will bring them over to Chrome so you have a copy of it. The only problem is if you're going back and forth a lot, they're not being kept updated. So it's kind of just like a one-time thing, and then you're left to manage your bookmarks yourself. Since most of us really don't use bookmarks all that much, we just use, I think the majority of people just go to the website and, what would that be under? They just go by the vendor list. I've seen a good amount of the inside salespeople doing it this way. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, if everybody would like to pin this page instead of the home page and just go off of this, it really doesn't make a difference.
Your health insurance, your dental insurance, they would be all great bookmarks.
That's
for you to
very
have.
true.
401k.
If you do end up using bookmarks and you want to move them, you can go into the bookmark manager. And you can select it. You can enter your notes, or you can click up here and choose which folder to move it to. And it would be the same way I just showed you when you were adding a new one. So it's not too bad, and like I said, they might be changing it a good bit soon. It's just they just decided to update this a week before. You know,
That's also how it works.
good time.
So other than speed, what is the advantage of using Chrome or the disadvantage of using Internet Explorer?
I've pretty much been telling everybody for years, use what you prefer. They both will show. I mean, the majority of the web pages will work on both of them. The problem is old government websites, old vendors, and places that haven't updated anything in about 10 years. The reason Chrome is quicker is because they want to work with the majority of the websites as fast as possible. To do that, they cut down on a lot of the programming required to run the old government website or vendor sites. So they just won't display it all, or buttons will be missing. We ran into that with Focus. When we did the Focus update, Internet Explorer just refuses to work on one button that they added to it. So we're kind of forced to use Chrome just for Focus. But we also run into the problem with CRM. CRM won't work in Chrome because it's old. It still works in Internet Explorer fine. So it's kind of, I'm pretty sure I sent out an email to all you guys about that. Is that right? Yeah.
I've had situations where I've tried to do things through an Internet Explorer and it basically comes up and says that it's not going to work on Internet Explorer. Is it true that Internet Explorer is no longer being supported?
They're still supporting it. They don't support the older versions of it. For those who are in outside sales and have CRM will not work on the newest version of Internet Explorer, so that forces us to use an older version of it. Microsoft, anytime they come out with new software, they say, we will support this software for X amount of years. It's usually like 4 or 5. And depending on how popular it is, sometimes they'll extend that. But there is a time where it becomes a big security risk as far as just going to a web page and getting a virus. You might, in an older version of Internet Explorer, it's going to happen a lot more frequently than a newer one, or even on Chrome. So it really just depends. But like I keep saying, it's just use what you're comfortable with. If it doesn't work in one, copy the address, and then just open up the other one. Everybody has icons for it on their desktop. Anybody have any questions about web browsers?
About what?
Web browsers, Chrome, Internet Explorer, before we get into other stuff.
And Chrome is your browser of choice?
Yeah, that's usually what I use. So there's only a couple things that I run into, but I'm not dealing with government stuff like Kathy and Eddie do sometimes, or your banks. Probably be a better example. Sometimes they just won't work in Chrome for whatever reason.
Fulton works in Chrome, doesn't it?
I'm sorry?
Does Fulton work in Chrome? I'm pretty sure they do.
She probably only uses it.
I would think
yeah.
it would.
It's hard to say.
You say that government websites don't work from sometimes?
I was just giving an example. In general, it's websites that haven't been updated or they've done a major overhaul for in years.
Which is the government.
Yeah. The bad one is any type of encryption that they use on the website. If you go to any bank site, up in the top left-hand corner, like instead of this icon, you'll see a padlock, and you'll see that in both Internet Explorer and in Chrome. Well, throughout the years, there have been different types of encryption. The sites that aren't managed properly or kept up to date, they will use old encryption that is no longer considered secure. So this causes a problem, and Chrome or Google, they're much more quicker to say we're not going to support this anymore. So to help keep people safe, Chrome or Google seems to be much quicker in saying that even though we could easily get this to work, we're just going to stop. So you cannot use our browser without getting some kind of like major security warning. Whereas in Internet Explorer, you might still be able to get into it without any problems. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
So the government, are you saying the government doesn't use Chrome? I won't be able to.
I'm
No,
just
because I
gonna,
do this sales and use tax.
it's just an example. There's going to be
Some will, some won't.
some of our customers even if they have websites. Some of the smaller customers, they won't. It might be like 10 years where they haven't made a change. They moved 3 times.
I think the biggest trick is just remembering when something doesn't work is to try it in the different browser.
Right.
Which, that took me a long time. Jason, it doesn't work! Try it in Chrome. I haven't asked you that in a while.
No, you haven't.
I used the Chrome at home, and for a few years there were some websites I had to go back to Explorer
Correct.
because they weren't. But now I don't have any problem, you know.
And the problem with doing it that way is if you're using an older computer, web browsers take a lot of resources, and then when you have both of them open at the same time, it can cause issues. And even though my laptop isn't that old, if I have a bunch of windows open in both of them, it really kind of slows it down. So if you happen to have a computer that's over 5 years old, it's just going. You've probably noticed it. I think you've complained a couple of times.
Okay, I don't use that at all. Explorer.
Mm.
I don't know computer language.
So just talking about Chrome is just the software to browse the internet. There's also Google itself. So this is basically going to be on how to search for whatever you're looking for efficiently, or if you're having trouble finding something. So let's use NIBCO as an example. So if anybody in inside sales or wherever are trying to find something very specific, so let's just get Google.
Doesn't like you, Jason.
Apparently not.
This because they have too many things open.
Mhm. There we go. So I actually like NIPCO's site. They have it set up pretty well. But if we happen to have a customer or a vendor where you're trying to look up pricing for something or an item where they do not have it set up well, I'm sure that at least some of you have had trouble with that. Finding what you're looking for, or and not even with the specific part. But some of the cool things you can do with Google is if you have the part number, and all I did was copy their part number. And I'll get into keyboard shortcuts after this, but you can select it, right click it, and select copy or just search for it. Normally if you're searching for something you could just do the part, and you do, for in this case, it actually comes up. And that, part of the reason for that is NIBCO has done a very good job setting up their website, where they, Google can index each and every one of their pages, which is basically to scan it for text, and make the connection that when you are looking for a very specific part number, it pulls up that page first. In the cases where that doesn't happen, what you can do is, if you know which site you want to be looking at, you can tell Google to specifically look on just NIBCO. Now, if you don't know exactly which part you're looking for, if you don't know that you're looking for a DWV, maybe CAS would be better. There we go. So you can search for types of material, and now you get anywhere from copper to PVC. So will anybody use this? Probably not. But if you are having trouble for it, you can. It's available to you. Now, just to show you an example. Now, what this is basically doing is it searches a website for anything that Google can touch or see. So for us, it will actually show every page. If you wanted to, so that you just got to remember that on the left-hand side is what you're, the term that you're searching for. So let's just say CAS. So you're looking for CAS fittings, but you don't want to look up PVC. So if you do a minus sign, that stands for exclude. Helps with that. So now all the results should be any type of CAS fitting or any type of fitting that isn't PVC if they've set up their site correctly. Or another example would be if you wanted to do lead-free. Now, how many times have they changed the lead-free laws? They call it lead free, but it's different.
Yeah,
Not that free, it's limited.
low lead, no
Because
lead,
they just
lead
in it,
free,
but it's such a small amount.
not for potable water.
If you wanted to look up, say, something about the low lead loss, but you were pulling in results from before, like, or any kind of new ones, you could do it, click search tools, you can do within the last month. So only pull results in that are more recent, which is really helpful if you're trying to find something specific to
The latest law or
company or-
regulation or something like
exactly.
that would be,
That's pretty
yeah.
awesome.
I didn't even know those tabs were up there. I never saw them. Did you see them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I saw those tabs, I sometimes use images.
No, but I didn't see the anytime or anything. I've never.
Well, did you have to click search tools first to get that?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything,
Could
nothing
they
else
creep
really
it a
helped.
little easier? Oh my gosh.
Another thing you can do with just the search engine itself is using quotes. I tried to find an example that would work, but it seems that they seem to have done a really good job with it. Quotes are exact. So if you're looking for a certain phrase, you can search for that phrase only by putting quotes around it. If you were using it without quotes, you might get individual searches. It's just based on what's more popular. So, like if you put in something like Mary had a little lamb and you didn't have quotes around it, you might get like a butcher shop. You're just using it there. So it's not what you were looking for, but
Mary the
Sick.
butcher.
Butcher shop.
Mary's butcher shop.
Oh my god, Jason, I'm never gonna look at it the same way again.
There you go. That's good.
Reading to my grandchildren and visual.
Does anybody have any questions about just searching with Google?
John, what's the most difficult thing you search for in a day's time?
Different manufacturers for an item I can go to.
That's actually a really good one too. If we'll use NIPCO again. So, say you just want, well, how about let's use something different. So PVC pipe. Pipe. Alright, so I was going for Crestline, but this looks like Thomas Net. Pretty big name in this area anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy their website. And just like before, where I use the minus sign for exclude, and then I put in site, and I paste it. And I'll also exclude Crestline. Pretty sure that's how you spell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So any of the results now should not include Thomas.net or Crestline. It makes a big difference if there is a very popular manufacturer of something on a common item. Or if you're looking for a place to buy a specific part and you're constantly getting eBay or Amazon and you do not want to get that, but you're 3 pages into the search and they're all individual eBay pages. So you can exclude by site